I have this argument with people all the time, but the whole like subdomain subfolder, if you internally linked as well as you did when you change it to, a lot of people will take and say, let me go from a subdomain to a subfolder. It gets more integrated in the website. And a lot of times, like you'll have menu links and that kind of thing that now bring this new section together. But really, they probably would have seen the same impact.
Search is still search until it isn't. The moment answers show up without the click, the job shifts from rank for keywords to earn the mention. My guest on today's show is Patrick Stox, product advisor, technical SEO, and brand ambassador at Ahrefs. Based in Raleigh, North Carolina, Patrick lives and breathes SEO with a particular fascination for how systems really work and the strange edge case problems most people never notice. He contributed to the Ahrefs SEO Book for beginners, served as technical review editor for my book, The Art of SEO 4th edition, and was lead author for the SEO chapter of the 2021 Web Almanac. In our conversation, we break down what AI overviews and AI mode search are doing to click-through rates, and why information gain is the only real moat. We talk about how Ahrefs is building toward real-time site auditing and push-button fixes with Edge SEO, plus the unsexy technical moves that protect performance. Patrick also explains why data studies and comparison pages are winning right now, how Ahrefs Brand Radar actually works, and what it means to manage your reputation across the whole internet, not just your website. If you want a smarter, more defensible search strategy for 2026, this episode is a great place to start. So without any further ado, on with the show. Patrick, it's so great to have you back on the show.
Thanks for having me back. Man, it has been a while. I feel I was still at IBM. That would have had to have been 6+ years ago then.
Yep, just about that. Crazy, huh? I'm not going to say that time flies because it only flies if you believe it flies. If you think that it actually is, going slower, then that's your reality. You program your own holodeck matrix with your own beliefs. I believe that, at least. So let's talk a bit about what caused you to make that jump from working in this behemoth of IBM to working at Ahrefs, which is a fabulous SEO tool set. I'm a big fan. I'm curious, what was the impetus for this move?
A lot of it was just I was already working on automation, lots of stuff, machine learning, trying to, automate my job and others' jobs. And I was like, well, why am I doing that for one company when I could do this and have, everyone kind of doing these things, like try and make everyone's lives a little easier.
Right. So you could scale across the whole world through Ahrefs. All right, cool. And what are your biggest accomplishments so far at Ahrefs? What have you built or deployed that's super awesome?
I think the one I like my dream project was like our site audit. Like we made it more real time. Like there's an always on audit, so you can have it running constantly, notifying you of issues. And then on top of that, we sprinkled Edge SEO in, so we can automatically fix a lot of things. So it's like push button fixes. You get a notification. It's like, oh, you messed up this canonical tag. Push a button, change it back. Done.
Awesome. So for somebody who's not super technical, super familiar with something like Edge SEO, what would that be for them? What can you explain that? Not like Eli 5, but at least for somebody who's not necessarily in the technical side of things.
Yeah, it's basically using JavaScript or serverless technology, and everything can be changed before on your website. Like you could add content, remove content, add alt tags, canonicals, redirects, any of this stuff. You can do it before it's ever served to a user or to a bot. So basically, it's kind of a technology that lets you overwrite what's in your CMS or anything in your infrastructure and say like, do this for me, and it's just done. You don't have to log into WordPress. You don't have to go, like, you want to add a bunch of internal links, you click yes, 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 and it goes and does it. You don't have to log into WordPress, find where it is in the text, highlight, add the link, etc.
And is that built into the Ahrefs toolset?
It is, yeah.
Super cool. I don't know if you knew this, but back in the day, can you believe it, 2003, I invented a middleware layer, like a a proxy based.
Yeah, you had a reverse proxy version. Yep, I remember.
Yeah, yeah. It was called Gravity Stream. I was just brainstorming names, and that domain was available, so I took it. And yeah, it ended up getting sold to Cavario back in 2010. So that was quite a successful product because we were charging on a cost per click basis. Like, people were getting let's say 60 cents a click or whatever for paid search, and we were offering organic at 15 cents a click, and they didn't have to spend millions of dollars and 18 months on a major rebuild of their site or having to bring in all these expensive consultants. So it was a win-win.
Yeah, that's amazing. And yeah, like ours, we took it. You probably use Content King, but like more real time, always crawling, finding issues, the alerting, all the controls for that. And then we also have Index Now integration, where it's not like a lot of the tools have an Index Now integration where they're sending the data to Index Now, but we're actually getting the data from Index Now because we also have a search engine, yep.com. And that's a conglomerate. Like there's Bing and dozens of other search engines involved in this, and basically it's like a modern day version of sitemaps. Something new is published, something is changed, something gets redirected, like it notifies the system, and like basically all the search engines get notified and can go crawl and update their info. Or in our case, our site audit can do that.
Yeah, cool. So Index Now, is Google involved with that? Because I see on the homepage of indexnow.org, Bing, Microsoft Bing is mentioned, Yandex, and a couple other small engines, but there's no mention of Google there.
Not yet. There's always talks with them about adopting. I kind of thought like with all the antitrust stuff, they might be forced into it a bit. I guess we'll see.
Yeah. So if Google's not participating, is it really worth the effort? Is the juice worth the squeeze? What do you think?
I mean, yeah, a lot of people ignore the other search engines. I think we gave them a really cool use case with the Ahrefs Site Auditor. Like people that are in SEO and they care, like now you basically get real time updates. Like it's pretty much you change something, it gets submitted there, we go crawl it. If something broke, we see it, we send you an alert, and with patches, you can click a button and fix it. Like it's a pretty great system.
Yeah, awesome. So, what are your favorite tools inside of Ahrefs that we haven't already talked about, and why?
Favorite tools? I honestly think our content tool, our content helper, is super underutilized by people. Like we have really cool things. Like we do the chunking there. We have the topics and what is basically a score for each topic based on the chunks. And it even highlights and tells you like this is the relevant like chunky section. The same things that search engines would be pulling out. Literally, it's Yep Tech in that. So it's when someone searches something, it's not like I'm pulling the entire page anymore. You pull a section, but it's not even really a section. It's the relevant content, which might be some of it up here, some of it down here in the article, some of it down here. And that's how modern chunking works. And so like we highlight all that and we're telling you like for these topics or these things that people are searching, like here are the relevant sections. Here's what you need to go change. If you want to improve your scoring, if you want to be more relevant, if you want to show higher and that kind of stuff. So super important for all the AI search stuff. And we kind of built that out well before any of this was like really considered, I think, by many people in SEO.
Yeah. So I know some best practices for AEO in terms of content writing would be like start with a TLDR, too long didn't read statement, or key highlights, kind of key considerations, bullet list at the beginning of the article. What else would be best practices for writing content so that it does well in the answer engines and the LLMs?
Yeah, just keep it simple. No flowery language, like straight to the point. Simplify. Structured headings always are a good practice, but I mean, not that different than SEO. I think the big change really from traditional SEO, and like people have been doing this for years anyway, but the biggest change I think is just focusing more on a certain thing. Like if you were writing for featured snippets, you focus on that like sentence or two sentences, three sentences, or a bulleted list kind of thing, right? Um, Now it's like that, except different parts of your content can all have that kind of focus. So like you really have to look and say like, look at that chunk and say like, what am I saying here? These are things that the AI search can pull out and then cite. So you really have to like focus in on specific sections and cut out just all the cruft. I think it's getting overdone too. Lots of people are like, let me just make an FAQ and I'll put 50 or 100 FAQs. That's never going to work. I mean, okay, it sort of works now. Don't do it. That's going to be an obvious thing to be penalized. Like Google kind of like did that work for Google for a while and they got rid of it. It's going to be the same there. Uh, I think like with the AI search though, it's more focused on type of content than necessarily what's in your content. Like the informational queries, yeah, I want to be there, but like that's not what's driving value to me as a company anymore. Ahrefs blog strategy was basically like, let's get lots of people top of funnel and then kind of collapse that funnel. So they come in looking for information and we're like, okay, like here's how we solve this in the tool. We show it. We're like, you know, problem aware and solution aware immediately. And that's working less good. Because now it's everyone just like follows up with more questions to the AI search. And so now like a lot of our focus is on things like comparison pages or statistics, information that no one else has. We ran a lot of data studies on our blog in the last year. And I think I saw Ryan Law posted something on our content lead, posted something on LinkedIn, and I think it was like five or six of our top. I think it was five of our top six were all data studies last year.
Right. So how much effort and cost goes into a data study versus, kind of like best practices or case studies and things like that. It seems like that would be quite an expensive endeavor to do a lot of data studies. Maybe that's not even practical for our listener or viewer.
Yeah, it's true. And we had to make an argument to get like resources. We have a data scientist now who's awesome. She handles most of the like heavy lifting on this so that our writers can just write them all up. It's not practical for everyone, but you can also do this at a smaller scale. Do a test of like 5 or 10 things. It doesn't have to be huge scale. I mean, obviously, like we have tons of data. We want to go as big as we can, millions, billions in a data set if we can. That's not practical for everyone, but like you could interview 5 of your customers in a lot of cases. Like that's not such a heavy lift. Go talk to 5 people in the industry. All that kind of stuff will get you the same kind of information gain, which is important for modern search, as these larger studies.
All right. So what are some of the best actionable insights that come to mind when you think about the data studies that Ahrefs have done?
The traffic is dying. AI overviews. We had a what was the study? I think it was like 34.5% at the time we looked. The clicks were like down that much from anyone that had AI overviews. Uh, Otherwise, like there's so much stuff. Listicles worked really well. We had all kinds of people running interesting experiments too. Mateus on our team ran one where he like made up a brand, spread out some information about it, and the AI search was referencing the information that he spread. So completely false info.
Yes, I actually love that study or that experiment. You might think, well, I mean, the listener might think that it was a little kind of nefarious to make up a brand and try to fool the LLMs into thinking that brand existed and had a lot of influencers and a lot of reviews and things like that. But it was to see what works and what doesn't work from a positive standpoint, not for scamming or spamming. And medium.com was a trusted source in that experiment, more so even than the official FAQ on the brand's website. I found that pretty surprising.
Yeah, I think maybe just because it wasn't a super established brand, we actually saw the opposite when we looked. A lot of times for bigger companies, they trust the company website, which they should, because we also see a lot of like what's called data poisoning in the data science world, where people are just putting out like false info about their competitors. It's just kind of funny. And I originally we were seeing a lot of that false info being returned, but now it seems like they tweak their system so they go and look at the brand side and you're like, oh no, it's not this. Like, or like, oh, so they might say like, oh, so and so doesn't have this feature or something, talking in the SEO space, and then they go to the official website now they're like, oh yeah, they do. Whereas before they would have repeated like what was said on all these sites. They don't have this, or uh, yeah, it's interesting.
So tell me, what are you up to in terms of, like, you're wearing a lot of hats over there at Ahrefs. What are your job functions? What kind of projects are you working on? What's interesting that you can share publicly?
Yeah, well, I think more obvious to most people is, the data studies and that kind of thing. But I also work on, the technical SEO for Ahrefs.com, programmatic projects. There's a bunch of like experimental websites. And then product side is just a lot of different things. Like last year was kind of fun. We had a bunch of new stuff with obviously the AI search, brand radar, but even analytics. Like we built an entire analytics product to kind of replace like GA4. So Ahrefs Web Analytics is free up to, I forget, 1 million events a month, something like that. Had huge adoption. I think we launched it actually December 2024, but last numbers I saw, which were months ago, it's like 130, 140,000 people using it already, which is pretty amazing.
That's cool. And you were involved in the creation of that?
Yeah, it's mostly like I don't do any development, but new feature ideation, like what the market needs. We did some really cool stuff, or stuff that should be basic, should be in every system. In like GA4, you got to go in and create a filter for all the AI search and blah blah blah. We just like, here's the AI search traffic, click that button, done, easy. So it's a lot of like workflow stuff, a lot of simplifying things, just making things easy for people, having the visualizations people need, that kind of thing.
So what's a feature that's not in GA that it's like maybe it's not just not hard or not easy to find in GA, but it's non-existent.
Well, again, like for that, you'd have to, what I talked about with the AI search, you'd have to set up a custom segment or filter or whatever for it. We did a lot of that kind of stuff. There's basically like a thing that will show you all your broken pages. Like we got to look at the title tags, and we're like, okay, that's obviously a broken page. So it's like, here are pages that are 404. You can even kind of get to like hallucinated pages from AI search that way. Basically pages from AI that are broken, done. And that's kind of cool because like it's a pretty easy thing to, if you want to do something for AI search, go redirect traffic. Like in some cases we had thousands of traffic going to pages on Ahrefs that didn't actually exist. So what do? Redirect that to the right page. Easy.
Yeah, cool. You mentioned experimental websites. Like what sort of experimental websites are you talking about?
I think I can talk about some of them because we linked to some of them on, like, I think a lot of people don't know this, but we own wordcount.com for one. That's linked to in the Ahrefs footer. Um, from there are some other websites linked, but we built like, I don't know, 300 websites or something last year, where it's a lot of like tool websites, and just to kind of see, are these AI systems good enough to do it? And it's kind of a cool process. Like basically, it will use Ahrefs and just determine like this is a niche. It'll go and say like, okay, these are pages with traffic in the niche, main competitors. These are the pages with traffic. And then it's like, okay, this is the content that needs to be created. And from there, it actually goes out to the website. And like, let's say it's a tool website. It'll be like, okay, these are the features that are there. These are the things they're describing on the page. Like this is how to use the tool, that kind of thing, or some basic FAQs. And it will just go and create all that. So this is something like we're kind of looking at bringing be more available to people. But at the same time, like, how can we do it without having people spam the web or spam the web less with it? So we kind of like spam the web some to show like this is probably isn't a good idea. Some stuff may work, some stuff may work for a while and then fall off. But we want kind of controls in that too. So like my idea is ingest any kind of help documentation, internal documents. We can have stuff like ask people questions, even set up one of these AI systems to like call someone and be like, ask these questions, get their response, get that internal knowledge, the knowledge from experts. I don't know, like we even have this thing in Slack that's on like security, and it comes up and it's like, hey, like here's some things, blah blah blah. We could do it for that. Uh, all kinds of possibilities and ways to kind of use your own employees to get that knowledge that they may not typically share, because the people that are doing the job that are the experts, they're not the ones that usually do the writing. It's a lot of times a content creator and SEO, and they're kind of copying what's already out there. Well, guess what? This AI stuff is really good at copying what's already out there. The way that you're going to differentiate yourself is to get that knowledge from the experts, and that means, an expert has to review it at least, add their stuff, but that takes time. It's a lot of times it's easier, 5-minute phone call or something, to be able to get that knowledge out. Or again, a lot of times places have internal documentation, all this stuff is kind of already out there, and like we just kind of have to ingest that and then put it within the content.
Yeah. So you're an expert, obviously, at SEO and AEO. What percentage of your time is spent reviewing content teams, writings, and analyses and so forth for accuracy and for all the really ninja ideas that probably are only in your head?
Yeah, like 2%, and that's probably more than I think most companies.
That's a problem. You need to replicate yourself somehow.
I mean, luckily, like Ahrefs is great. Like we have a ton of experts on SEO. It's kind of great that we have an SEO tool set, but we actually have like real SEOs in house that are creating our content too. Uh, but yeah, I tend to review it, if it's something technical, if it's some of the data studies, a lot of like ideation. Like I work with the data scientists and like, okay, let's have the study, and like hopefully someone else will write it up because I don't really have time for that. But I want to make sure the info is right and that kind of thing before it goes out.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned you do technical SEO on the Ahrefs site. So how many pages are on that site? It must be huge. And if that's the case, then are you doing any content pruning to get rid of obsolete or outdated information or things that are no longer maybe relevant and kind of prune the tree?
Yeah, it's not as big as you think, probably. I think probably about 4,800 pages right now.
Oh, that's smaller than I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, we did have some programmatic projects, which is actually a problem right now that we're trying to solve. We were trying to move that off domain, but it's like sticking to where Ahrefs is indexed. So like there's this top websites project, and you probably saw this from like alexa.com back in the day, or SimilarWeb, SimilarWeb. They all have versions of this where it's like, here's a website, traffic, blah, 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 ranked for people's brands, basically. And that ended up like getting us hit by one of the core updates, which was not great, and kind of impacting the blog. So we're trying to move that off, but there were some canonicalization issues, and yeah, like literally we had like canonical setups, maps, everything on the new domain. One of the for whatever reasons, one of the updates, like the canonicals disappeared. So we fixed that, waited a couple months, and like it still wasn't doing it. So the other day, I had the team like do two things. One, the link in our footer was still to like ahrefs.com/websites. I was like, let's take that to ahrefstop.com/websites. And then on ahrefstop.com, because we plan to have like other programmatic projects there, we had a 302 on the homepage to the /websites folder. And the only page indexed on ahrefstop.com was actually the homepage. So I think like the indexation was being pulled back to the homepage, which technically didn't link to other pages. So the rest weren't being indexed. So we're going to see if that hopefully fixes it all. If not, I'm going to have to dive in more in a couple weeks. And I don't even have access to Google Search Console for that one. I probably need to get that and see what's going on there.
Yeah. Sounds like a headache. One mistake I see folks make who are not super advanced in SEO is they'll redirect, let's say, an old website to a new website if it's like a rebrand or something like that. But they'll redirect everything, including the sitemaps file, including the robots.txt file, which is, I think, I consider it to be a rookie mistake, right? It's like ripping the rug out from under Googlebot, saying, well, I would like you to discover all the 301 redirects that I've set up, but I'm going to take away the sitemaps file that has that map of all the 301 redirects, so you'll have to figure it out on your own. Oh, and I'm also going to take away the robots.txt file that has the sitemaps directive in there with the old sitemaps URL, which also doesn't work anymore. It's just like, don't do that.
I mean, better that than like I see a lot of people block the old site and the robots.txt, and obviously then they're not going to be crawling the redirects.
Yeah. Oopsie. What are some of the other mistakes that you see that are maybe not as obvious to a rookie SEO?
I mean, I've done a lot of migrations, probably more than any SEO on the planet. And it's usually redirects are the problem. Like people just don't do them. Or you talked about content pruning. They'll take an entire domain and make it one page on the new website, kill off any good content they had. Uh, Domain migrations are not that difficult. Make sure things redirect, don't kill off all the stuff, and you're probably going to be fine. But I know a lot of folks are like, oh, you're going to see 30-40% drop. Usually not if you did it right. But it's companies want to change a lot of things. They want to entire new templates, designs, kill off a bunch of content. They miss a lot of the redirects.
And also redesigns that get rid of a lot of the rich interlinking between pages on the site. And so the flow of link equity within the site is no longer as efficient.
Yep. And I have this argument with people all the time, but the whole like subdomain subfolder, if you internally linked as well as you did when you change it to, a lot of people will take and say, let me go from a subdomain to a subfolder. It gets more integrated in the website. And a lot of times like you'll have menu links and that kind of thing that now bring this new section together. But really, they probably would have seen the same impact if they just did the internal linking to that subdomain and left it alone. Like I know a lot of the SEO industry doesn't believe me on this, but again, I've done a lot of these migrations both ways, and typically, if you just interlinked it, you're going to see the same impact.
Yeah, and another thing too is when you are linking, when you're redirecting from one page to another, and it's not as relevant, it's not an exact duplicate of the content, the farther afield it is in terms of what it's about, the less Google is going to trust your redirect.
Yeah, and then you get the overly broad redirects where they just like redirect everything to, a category page or the home page. And more than likely, like that is not actually passing any of the link equity. Be probably treated as a soft 404 mostly.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are some of the kind of day-to-day hygiene, SEO hygiene type activities, speaking of things like soft 404s, that our listener should be doing or should be delegating to someone on their team who's doing all the in the weed sort of stuff, like soft 404s, looking in Google Search Console for that sort of thing, and for just regular 404s where they're not just hallucinated but actual previously existing pages that need to be redirected. Like what are some of the activities that you would recommend?
Yeah, there's a lot of technical SEO stuff that doesn't necessarily move the needle. Redirects do. We actually have a report in Ahrefs, Best by Links, and you can filter to 404. So you actually get see an assorted list of like, these are the ones with the most links, the most referring domains. Go down that list and you're like, okay, this is where this should go. Redirect it. Done. It's literally an ordered list of your most important redirects you should do.
Can you differentiate for our listener the top pages report and the Best by Links report?
Yeah, Best by Links is literally your most linked to pages on your website. And again, there's a filter there for 404. So these are, pages with a lot of links that are currently broken. And I even have, since you mentioned top pages, I have a whole redirect script even that I shared on our blog many times and in presentations where basically you take the Best by Links 404, you take the top pages, it'll go out to like archive.org for the older pages that no longer exist and pull the content and then match, and it'll crawl your current website and it'll like match them up for you. So really, like, people hate to do redirects. A lot of people don't know their site well enough to say like, this is the current page of this. It takes time, effort, but like really with this, you just run this in an afternoon, come back, and it's like everything is matched up. It's like redirect this to this, done.
By the way, there are command line tools and just really easy ways to extract entire websites from archive.org, from the Wayback Machine, like Warwick, for example. And they've been around for ages. So if you lost, let's say, access to your website and it got hacked and then taken down or whatever, you can recover it if it's in archive.org, and you can pull all that content over with a tool like Warwick.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. In my case, I think this was done in like Google Colab with Python, and it just goes and pulls it. Yeah, they have a whole API, so you can see the latest snapshots and everything, all the retrieve all the content. It's pretty great. Internal linking, super important. Even on the Ahrefs blog, like we read a study, I don't even know, this might have been 2 years ago now. But we were curious, like what if we add a related posts section? Ahrefs, we're already known for SEO. We do a really good job internal linking all previous posts and stuff. And we're like, what if we just do this thing that like everyone does and have this, 3, 5 related posts at the end of all the blogs? Will that help us? And the answer was yes. Like we still saw an uplift from literally just installing, I think it was YARP, yet another related post plugin in WordPress. So as good as we do, like it could always be better. And
Yeah, website's never finished.
yeah. Uh, and then like inside Auditor, we have an internal links, like it's a link opportunities report. And it'll be like, okay, here, it's a very simple methodology. We look at like, these are the things the top 10 things I think that your page is ranking for. And this is where in content you're talking about these things, but then not linking to this page. Very simple methodology. I used to have this whole process with Screaming Frog. It would take 10, 15 minutes to run through the link opportunities for a single page, a bunch of scraping, a bunch of processes. And now it's like, they're just there. You just go in and like, okay, if I go to this page, here are ones that I can add. If I want to improve this page, here are the like 20 pages I could go to add links to it. So whatever you're focused on, whatever you're trying to improve, it's a pretty easy to like see a list of link opportunities.
Are you using Screaming Frog still, or is everything that you could possibly get from Screaming Frog available in Ahrefs?
Not everything is available, but I don't really use Screaming Frog anymore. No,
Oh, I'm sure they're
I
sad to
think
hear
our site.
that. It's a
Yeah,
great
I
tool.
honestly I love that tool. Yeah, we don't have we're not gonna like fake user agents and that kind of thing, because then we're kind of a bad citizen of the web if we do that at our scale. Uh, there are things that you can do in Screaming Frog you can't do in Ahrefs, but there are also things you can do in Ahrefs you can't do in Screaming Frog.
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. And there are tools out there that are very specialized in the areas of link building. What are some of the most advanced capabilities of Ahrefs in the link building arena, like link outreach and where you talked about link opportunities just a minute ago, versus some of the tools out there specifically designed for link builders, such as, let's say, Pitchbox.
Yeah, well, we don't have like the automation for the outreach like they have. But we have, I don't know if you saw this, we launched like page categories. So we're now tagging each page to say, like, this is basically the niche that they're in. This is what the page is about. I think that's super cool. We have things like the authors report. So you can see, what are the authors linking to your content, or what are the authors linking to competitors, and then run it through, one of the email finder tools and go and outreach to them, be like, okay, they link uh to folks in my niche. Like I did a thing a while back where I just went and looked at like all the SEO websites, and it was like, okay, let's look at the authors who's linking, blah blah blah. And I combined all that in a big spreadsheet, and I basically ended up with an ordered list of authors that write about SEO that then link out to websites in the niche. And it's like, okay, there's a list of people that we need to be connected to and potential link opportunities.
Yeah, cool. Are you outreaching? Is that part of your job, or you just hand it over to different people?
No, I don't do that.
Yeah. You'd be stretched way too thin then. You're already stretched thin.
Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes like we will use relationships. If it's a well-known person like you or something, we might, Tim or myself or Ryan, or we have a lot of folks with a lot of connection, a lot of goodwill in the industry. We would be kind of stupid not to use that at times.
Sure. Yeah, of course. Let's talk a bit about brand radar. So there was some, I don't know, like negative sentiment, let's say, on LinkedIn and so forth about the pricing of brand radar because it is very expensive. But first of all, maybe could you explain the value of brand radar, why it's something worth paying for? And maybe address like what makes Ahrefs brand radar better and worth it compared to everything else that is out there that's close to the functionality.
All right, so I'm gonna like correct one thing. It is not that expensive. Um, the original version of Brand Radar, we did things different. Everyone else launched like AI prompt trackers. It was kind of like rank tracking, if you think of it that way. Our initial version of Brand Radar was more like a version of Site Explorer and Keywords Explorer, if you're familiar with the Ahrefs terminology. We had a big index of prompts. That is more expensive. I mean, every one of these indexes was 10, 15 million for the different systems. That is expensive. But we did launch a standalone like prompt tracker. It actually starts at like $50 a month. I think it's like uh, 0.2 cent a query or something. It's one of the cheapest ones on the market and starts at like $50 and is pretty flexible. You choose your systems, you choose the update cadence, even like, I don't know. I find it kind of stupid. You don't, maybe some things you want to track like daily, but other things like weekly is fine, monthly is fine. You don't need to pull this every day for a bunch of these things. You got, 30 searches a day for something that someone searched one time in one system. Why? So there is a like standalone version that's the prompt tracker that is cheap.
But if you're looking at, let's say, the site overview on your own website in Ahrefs, and you see that you have very little mentions in ChatGPT, Perplexity, etc. Actually, Perplexity is not one of uh, the tracked systems or LLMs, is it? Now that I think about it, you got Gemini, you got what are the ones that are missing? Do you have Claude?
We're not tracking Claude. We're not tracking DeepSeek, Grok, but we do have Perplexity, Copilot, AI Mode, ChatGPT, Gemini,
And Copilot.
Copilot, AI Overviews.
Yeah. So you have at least 10 million prompts that you're tracking in each of those. It adds up to several hundred million prompts and outputs you're tracking continuously. So if I'm looking to see what those 10 or 20 or 50, whatever mentions are in, let's say, ChatGPT, and I click on the number, I'm going to be, prompted to give my credit card and sign up for a 700 and some dollar service or something, right?
Yeah, so that's the big index one. Again, the standalone prompt tracker, like you might not have even seen, we launched it because it was pretty recent. I think back in December, about a month ago. But yeah, the bigger one, it's a bigger index. It's more expensive. It doesn't work for smaller brands, I would say. Like if unless you're honestly like you're saying, seeing the negative sentiment, we're seeing lots of love. Big companies absolutely love this tool because again, we are tracking, web scale, huge indexes of prompts. It's more unbiased because if you're entering your own terms.
Oh, I'm a fan. I believe in what you're doing here. I just I see people whinging about the $700 price point.
Yeah, I don't even know what it might even be more than that. We added stuff like videos, so like there's YouTube videos, transcripts, TikTok. It's not, again, this is, we didn't call it like AI prompt tracking or whatever because it's a bigger initiative. We have stuff for Reddit now. There's a lot more coming. So like we're basically looking video, social media, all this type of stuff. There's our entire web index is in there. So you can see brand mentions across the entire web.
Yeah, it's very cool. Are you using it for Ahrefs? Are you making uh, data-driven decisions based on brand radar data for Ahrefs?
Yeah. We, one of the first things that we saw were like listicles are working really well. Like, why are we not doing more of that? Or we saw things like, you know, more websites were being pulled. So we can go and look and see like what are the websites being cited, make sure we're there, outreach, that kind of thing. And I'm not doing the outreach, but we do have people that are in charge of like relationships, partnerships, that kind of thing. And in some cases, we can message them and be added. In other cases, we might have to do a sponsorship kind of thing. But yeah, we wanted to make sure we were there. We also saw like comparison content. So, Ahrefs versus SEMrush, et cetera. We had one page. I think it was Ahrefs versus SEMrush versus Moz. It did well, but like when you look at it and it's, if I'm going to call out SEMrush for a really good practice here. I think, it's a little sketchy at the scale they're doing it, but it's they had pages not just not even on their own website, but on all the properties they acquired, backlinko, traffic think tank, exploding topics, etc. Probably end up on search engine land with comparison pages. That stuff was working well. We need to make sure like we have content like that to compete. Otherwise, they're controlling the narrative. They're controlling what's being said on the web.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Let's talk about Reddit. So I know we've got just a few minutes left, but you are a moderator of a popular subreddit on SEO, and you've been a moderator there for a long time, right?
Yeah, I don't even know when, at least 5, 6 years or more.
Yeah. And how did that come about? And why do you keep doing it? Because there is a time commitment there, and you got like 4 jobs pretty much at Ahrefs. So tell us a bit about that.
It came about. Jeff Luella actually took over the Tech SEO subreddit. The Reddit request thing. You can get a sub that's not being moderated. He's part of the Tech SEO Slack group that you mentioned earlier too. And he's like, "Hey, like I need help with this. I know." Like he messaged me, Paul Shapiro. I think Russ Jones, may he rest in peace. And he's like, "Y'all are active on Reddit. Do you want to help me with this and everything?" And it's not that big of a time commitment, honestly. Our auto mod is pretty good. Our users are really good about flagging any spam. So a lot of times, by the time I even log in or whatever to check, it's already been auto modded and gotten rid of just because users are downvoting and like reporting spam and everything. So I usually just once or twice a day, 5 minutes. It's not that bad.
Okay. And are you contributing to Reddit posts, comments, and to what degree?
Yeah, I try to. There are times where I'm more active than others because I am busy. But yeah, I do try. I do anything Ahrefs related. I try and like jump in and represent. Again, I think this is a good practice for any of the AI search stuff. If people are saying wrong things like, oh, Ahrefs doesn't do custom prompt tracking. Well, we do now. So we want to make sure like we're ahead of that people know that people aren't spreading like false info. We get a lot of stuff where I don't know how to put that. I just want to make sure like we're represented there. And we probably should have an official person that does that. But for now, it's mostly me.
Okay. And what do you think our listeners should be doing to get a presence on Reddit and maintain that brand presence and not just kind of leave it to the wolves?
Empower your employees. Like I know a lot of companies have rules against not representing the brand. It's the wrong way to go. In this new era, we're already seeing this. It's been the case for years. Why do I care, what a brand says or whatever? People want to connect with people. And it's one of the reasons why we have a lot of faces at Ahrefs. We have Tim, we have Ryan, Sam O, myself, Glenn Alsop now, like people that are like well known, that are sharing, that are active in all these different communities, social media, etc. It's not that we're just responding to everything as Ahrefs. Like we're trying to be genuine. We're all people. And I think that is the way to go about it. You have an entire literally paid workforce of employees already that are experts on your product, your service, your company. They are best positioned to actually represent your company, not, social media person that you post stuff and blah, blah, blah. I may not actually like know your tool, your product, your company. So I think having people visible is the way to go for the future, having those like micro influencers or whatever.
Right. Speaking of micro influencers, are there any particular tools or processes that you recommend to identify micro influencers? Like for example, SparkToro is a really cool tool. You could use that to identify some micro influencers. Like what are your go-to tools or strategies for this?
I can't say that I have good strategies for it. Again, maybe check the Ahrefs authors report to see who's writing. We probably will build some stuff. I don't know if you know this. We built a whole like social media suite now that's right now more posting and analytics, but there's a lot more coming there.
Can you actually post through that, like Hootsuite kind of functionality?
Yep, absolutely.
Nice. Well, that's really cool. Very good.
We're going in a lot of different directions with the product.
Yeah, cool. And what's your take on the SEMrush acquisition?
I mean, honestly, good for them. They got paid like a 78% premium over their stock price. Also really good for us. We already saw a lot of users switching over. Whether they've lost customers or not, I don't know. But at least people are hedging their bets, checking out the competitors. I think Adobe will likely focus more on enterprise, and that just leaves a lot of users that will potentially switch to Ahrefs and other competitors.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your wisdom and ninja tricks and techniques. So, if you want to leave our listener or viewer with one last little wisdom nugget, what would it be?
For this new era, like it's less about your site. Now everyone needs to focus on the internet, how the internet is talking about you, how your company is presented, what your reputation is. You can do a certain amount to control that. If you're smaller, you have more control. If you're a big company, like you may not be able to just overpower the internet and all the bad things they're saying about you if that's the case. uh, we have to be more, I think, in tune with the business. And so if there's a problem, people, I'll give you an actual example. Like people hated the Ahrefs credit system. We basically got rid of it. We listened to the feedback and now we hear pretty much no complaints. So it's actually make the business decision to change the thing, to improve, to be a better company, a better product, a better service. That is going to be more impactful than spamming the internet trying to say like, oh no, it's not this, it's this. You're up against an army of 8 billion people. uh, there's only so much you can do there.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Patrick. And thank you, listener. Go out there and make the world a better place through some SEO and AEO, and we'll catch you in the next episode. I'm your host, Stephan Spencer, signing off. If you want to hear more conversations like this about AI, search, and what it takes to be visible, then I recommend episode 506 with Kevin Indig, episode 517 with John Shihada, and episode 458 with Rand Fishkin. Also, I invite you to check out the show notes, transcript, action-based checklist, and all the URLs mentioned in this interview with Patrick Stox at marketingspeak.com/539. If you enjoyed this conversation, please share the episode and, more importantly, the entire show Marketing Speak with a friend. It'll really help this podcast grow in reach and impact. Thank you.